Ladies and gentlemen, there are a handful of Republicans who are said to be open to convicting President Trump. There's going to be no conviction. He's not going to be removed from office. The House will impeach President Trump on a bunch of nonsense. President Zelensky of the Ukraine stated there is no quid pro quo. There was no leverage. He did not feel pressured. President Poroshenko, his predecessor, stated he did not feel pressured. Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch confirmed that even President Obama's administration knew there were conflicts of interest with Hunter Biden because she was given talking points. So she was given talking points regarding the potential conflicts of interest. If Republicans asked about Hunter, she was supposed to say, well, you know what? I'm going to refer you to the vice president's office. This is under oath. The New York Post and others have already Washington Examiner has already picked up on that. So this is really interesting. This is a hit the Hill today, just this morning. Here are the Senate Republicans who could vote to convict Trump. Of course, Mitt Romney's leading the way, but I'll read you this article. Senator Chris Murphy caused a stir Friday when he said a handful of Senate Republican colleagues, so he's a Democrat from Connecticut, a handful of Senate Republican colleagues have privately told him they would consider voting to remove President Trump from office. Murphy conceded it's a small list, on one hand, but Democrats would consider it a major victory if they could tout a bipartisan vote in the Senate to remove Trump from office in an election year. It won't matter anyway. Nothing is going to stop Trump from re-election. If the economy is good, nothing will stop Trump. And the economy is going to be good, so there's not going to be a recession, and it's going to be Clinton versus Trump, again, like I stated since 2017. But anyway, his remarks created a buzz since no congressional Republicans have publicly said they would even consider taking such a step, and not one House GOP lawmaker voted for the resolution establishing the rules for impeachment. Okay, so here we go, and Susan Collins, Maine. Okay, so Susan Collins, and then you have... It's always Susan Collins. Then you have Mitt Romney of Utah. So Susan Collins, Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, Alaska. After Collins, Romney, Murkowski, there is a larger group of GOP senators who have publicly or privately expressed concern over Trump's withholding of military aid to Ukraine and his attempt to persuade Ukrainian President Zelensky to conduct a corruption investigation. The group includes GOP lawmakers such as Rob Portman, Ohio, Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, Tim Scott, South Carolina, Marco Rubio. Well, Tim Scott actually just gave a tremendous amount of support to President Trump just recently. So I don't know why he's added on to here. But Marco Rubio for sure. Lamar Alexander, Tennessee, I can see that, who is not seeking re-election. But none of them. Okay, so you have a couple of senators who could potentially, for public relations purposes, Mitt Romney being one of them, turn and vote alongside Democrats to convict Trump in the Senate. Now, the Senate trial is going to be hilarious. It's going to be essentially the end of Biden's campaign. Hillary Clinton's going to swoop in and save the day. This is just, it's made for the psyche and the emotions of the average Democratic Party voter. The average Democrat is petrified of a Clinton 2020, yet they're going to vote for Clinton 2020 anyway. How it goes down, I think this is what's going to happen. The House is going to impeach President Trump. Then everyone's going to say, oh my God, this is just like, the biggest thing in the world, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. And now we have Trump. Oh my God, this is historic. And, my goodness gracious, how can we have a president so corrupt? Then Trump's going to counter with the Senate trial, where he's going to say, hey, we want Adam Schiff. We want Hunter. We want Joe Biden to testify. Can you testify? Can you all testify? And because, Adam Schiff met with the intelligence operative before the complaint about the phone call, or his office did. And that intelligence operative, they want the intelligence operative to testify because that person had worked for Biden or had an association with Biden. So, all of his conflicts of interest are hilarious. Then they can even put Maria Ivanovich up on there also and demand that she testifies so she can repeat, hey, President Obama's administration gave her talking points to address the conflicts of interest. All Trump has to do is show that there are conflicts of interest. He doesn't have to prove criminal wrongdoing. They investigated Trump on a dossier and gossip from Alexander Downer. That started the probe. Because he might have colluded with Russia to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, thus giving Clinton the popular vote but losing swing states. But the point here is this. There is a money flow from Burisma to Hunter. That is a conflict of interest when you have the father, Biden, on video bragging about his role, about literally like a quid pro quo. You will not get $1 billion and you want to call President Obama? Go ahead. You will not get this money if you do not fire a prosecutor. The prosecutor happened to be investigating the corporation that his son was a board member of. That's the issue. This was already documented. Not only in the New York Times, but it was already documented in congressional record. When Marie Yovanovitch was appointed and confirmed, she was given information from President Obama's White House to address the conflicts of interest. So it was already known. That completely undermines the impeachment. The impeachment is that, and also the fact that Biden would be Trump's direct political rival. Clinton is going to become nominee. So she's almost certainly waiting for impeachment. She might even wait for the Senate trial. Who knows when she'll come? She's going to be nominee. They're not going to have Biden, who actually gets into arguments with voters. Like he is actually far more belligerent than Trump. He called someone fat the other day. Okay, if Trump had done that, it would be the end of the universe. And then you have Biden, you want to do push-ups with me? And this was to an Elizabeth Warren voter. Okay, so I mean, he was talking down to a Democrat, and then he tells an activist, yeah, you'll go ahead and vote for Trump. Yeah, I mean, he's not even pretending that he wants to be president or Democratic nominee. He's not even pretending. So the notion that Trump is so fearful of Biden is nonsense. You have to have a whole bunch of things to take place for the Democratic Party's impeachment narrative to be legitimate. Trump has to really worry about Biden. He doesn't care about Biden. He has zero concern about Biden. Zero. Just because they're like, well, he's number one in the Democratic primary. So what? So what? The field is horrendous. Aside from Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, the field was horrendous. Bernie Sanders, yes, he has voters. I use the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. And the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, 90%, 95% this year of Bernie's voters, probably 97, will vote Clinton. Because they don't want to be H.A. Goodman. They don't want to be disloyal to the Democratic Party. So, I mean, you have almost everyone on the left will vote Clinton. A lot of people are going to complain, but this is the MC Breed election. One of the great rappers of the 90s, one of the great rappers of all time. He has a song, Ain't No Future in Your Frontin'. All they do is front. All they do is pretend they're something they're not. So they're going to say, well, I don't like Biden, then Clinton's going to come in. You're going to have a lot of people saying, oh, Clinton, oh my God. I can't really, Clinton, no. And they're going to pretend. They're going to push back a little bit. And Clinton will crush and decimate and obliterate any resistance. And it's going to work. You're going to have people saying, oh my God, Clinton again. Don't believe him. These are the same. If they voted Clinton 2016 and they're complaining about Clinton 2020, don't believe them. Because they're going to vote. So there's no future in pretending. When Clinton runs, these people should be happy. And you know what? It's great. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a rematch where Trump wins again. The kryptonite of the Democratic Party is Donald Trump. They don't know how to stop him. Nobody cares about impeachment. Independents don't care about impeachment. It's a complete and utter failure. It's a catastrophe. Their entire lives are predicated upon excuses for their failures. So, they spent 3 years of American history trying to tie Trump and correlate Trump to the DNC email hack. They couldn't. To Facebook ads, they couldn't. To alleged Russian collusion, they couldn't. And when Mueller said the evidence was not sufficient, there was no evidence. Because if there was even a shred of evidence, they would have indicted. There was no evidence. And it wasn't like Comey with a cover-up. That was a cover-up with Clinton. When Max Boot yesterday, says, well, I'm tired. You know what? I don't ever want to hear about Clinton's emails again. He doesn't have to. But she had servers, private servers, autonomous, outside of the United States government. Imagine if Aldrich Ames and Robert Hansen had those servers. Look them up. Imagine. She had servers with top secret and special access program intelligence and 2,000 plus classified emails running on Microsoft Exchange software. Okay. Without the protection and the firewalls and everything of the United States government. Literally just out there. She had a ClintonEmail.com. President Obama emailed her under a pseudonym. The entire planet infiltrated those servers. And then she deleted 30,000 emails on her own. Her lawyers deleted the emails. And they literally, they were given authority by who knows who gave them the authority to decide what was classified and what wasn't. And she had intelligence operative names within her emails. I mean, the whole thing is a complete cybersecurity tragedy. It's the biggest cybersecurity debacle in the history of this country, probably of all time. Robert Gates, the defense secretary, and Michael Hayden, intelligence chief, both under President Obama, stated that it's almost certain. They basically said it is certain, but see, they said almost certain that her servers were infiltrated by the entire planet. Even Comey had to admit it's very likely. They're not going to say certainly because they're covering for Clinton. But why would you hide your communication from Freedom of Information Act requests? But also, she didn't trust the United States government. That's why you hide. But see, again, the media is, they don't get it. They think that they can cover up and sweep under the rugs legitimate stories, legitimate crimes, legitimate corruption. I said, well, it's not. It's just emails. No big deal. It's the same thing. Kushner used WhatsApp, and according to the New York Times, Trump, he gave classified intelligence to a diplomat. No, according to sources of the New York Times, there's no evidence of that. Well, he said something bad about a country, according to sources of the New York Times. President Obama actually, with a failed NATO intervention, led to the destruction of an actual country, Libya. That is not a source from the New York Times. You can look at the past 10 years, almost 10 years of chaos and mayhem. Democrats are like completely in their own world, have endless failures, blame the entire planet, never look in the mirror, and then they want to impeach Trump. Anyway, you're going to get Republicans like Mitt Romney who are going to think about it. We'll see. It could, I doubt Mitt Romney. I doubt any of them will, there'll probably be one or two. Could be Mitt Romney. I'm not sure. Maybe Lisa Murkowski. Who knows? You need 2/3 in the Senate anyway. He's not going to be removed. But nobody cares about impeachment. Is you can have, it's going to look bad for the Republicans who vote to convict over a phone call. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? A phone call? Give me your thoughts.